Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Okay, hi. It's
Hi.
very exciting, isn't it? The diversity, watching the first female, the first black vice president wearing, the first gay cabinet secretary, on and on and on, first black secretary of defense. Right?
While the first gay secretary's husband held the Bible for him. That is a
Yes.
big deal. It's a beautiful big deal.
Yeah. And what's a bigger deal is that it's not going to be a big deal anymore, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There will never be a first. Hopefully, all of these firsts are a long line of just the beginning, and hopefully they won't ever be the last. So that includes.
I'm the first. I will not be the last.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. There are good things happening. There's a lot of bad things still happening, but there are some good things happening.
Oh, I wore my deport Nazis now. Sure, just for you, being a Yahoo and all, but also because I don't know. I just thought that was something that we already decided in World War II. Nazis bad. Nazis bad.
Yeah,
right?
Nazis bad.
Okay. All right. So good things are happening. Speaker Pelosi she's not messing around. This is not no party. It's no disco. It's no fooling around. We are getting COVID. Here she is.
What is important to us as a nation should be reflected in when we put a budget together. It's curious to me to hear the distinguished gentleman on the other side of the aisle. It would be ludicrous if it weren't so deadly serious. $1.9 trillion President of the United States has determined is necessary to meet the needs of the American people at a time of a pandemic, at a time of consequences to our economy that are drastic.
Yeah, and Dana, we keep saying this has what, 74% approval rating? This is what I've been saying. We have always had these majorities of people that agree with us on almost each and every issue. So now it is time to get it done. Now it's time to do it. I think that's what they're afraid of, is that it's going to work. And
100%.
Run against it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When McConnell does something like somehow hands over the gavels, I'm like, what was the trade-off? Because this doesn't just happen. So, like, what was the conversation behind closed doors?
Apparently, Lindsay G does not like being a power bottom.
I hate her. Hate her.
Where'd the love go?
Well, the love went out the window as soon as there was an insurrection.
We took the Senate a month ago. How is it we lost a month when they just turned over the gavels yesterday, right? And it's already blocked Merrick Garland. I think they are frantic to not have an attorney general, because the minute, somebody really starts investigating what happened January 6th and
100%.
Administration in general, right?
100%. That's exactly why they're blocking him. Obviously, Mitch McConnell has a vendetta with him anyway. He's already blocked him once. This is the second time. But of course, there's going to be investigations on Lindsey Graham. There's going to be investigations on so many of these congressmen and women that, of course, they don't want the DOJ to be handed over. Stuff's actually going to start getting done.
Well, speaking of Lindsey Graham, his call to the Georgia Secretary of State seemed pretty clearly illegal to me, right?
I absolutely agree. And if it's not a federal investigation, the state AG is more than welcome to, also press charges and have an investigation and have it be a state's crime. And I'm fine with that. There was no pardon given to Lindsey. So whatever he did, it's going to come out in the open. Of course, they're going to block the DOJ from handing over a power.
Something
of course
about Lindsey's going to come out into the open? What are you saying? Oh my God! Did you see, you guys, that Jen Psaki, who I love, Jen Psaki, superstar?
Dreamy.
Okay, so here we go now, right? With just the one time you said one thing, right? They're going to try to compare, Marjorie Taylor Greene's dangerous, violent nonsense to anything anyone said in any tweet or any joke ever. But Jen Psaki referred to Lindsey Graham as Lady G, as a lot of us do. And so now they're having a did you see that? They're having a tizzy over that.
I did not see that.
She's homophobic and blah, blah, blah. This was, wasn't she a CNN commentator?
I
Travis?
think so.
Yeah.
Oh, this was before she took the position.
Right.
Got it. Yeah.
She said she had tweeted, only in 2020 does Lady G get to push a bunch of debunked conspiracy theories while questioning Sally Yates. That was the whole tweet. And so they're saying, oh, she's homophobic and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, it's only homophobic if Lindsey Graham is homosexual.
Right. and we're not saying.
Well,
It's funny. They tried to drag, Joy Reid for this. I think it was the same thing. It was jokes about Charlie Crist or Lady G. People that we all on the left think maybe get. Point is, I think we bring it up when they vote against gay people, and
Yeah.
I think it's. But again, we're gay and we've made those same jokes, right? So it's just to go, oh, it's just homophobic.
See, I don't agree with that, but I'm also going to be the devil's advocate here and say that because I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty on almost every show, but I do realize that when homosexual people become the butt of jokes just based on their sexual orientation, we are not setting the best precedent on the left. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to stop. I'm not always taking the higher road, but I do understand how some people are like, there are more things to chastise Lindsey Graham about other than he may be a closeted homosexual. There is a litany of things that he has done that we could actually chastise him for. So I'm actually going to try and be more careful. But as a comedian, it's real hard to stay PC.
If we were to offer a montage of Dana Goldberg on the Stephanie Miller show, and every time she said, I love her, when I said Lindsey Graham, that would be a pretty damning case.
It would be a pretty damning case. Yep, but I can always learn.
We're all gay, and we obviously don't think it's a bad thing to be gay, so it's not smearing someone.
See, that's the thing. That is the exact point. That is a great argument. You only see it as a negative if you think being homosexual is a negative.
Yes.
And we obviously see it as a positive and as a superpower. So it's sort of like, in any other word that is charged in other communities, if we can take that community, like oh God, I don't even know if I can say that word, so I don't want to get dumped. It's the D word for lesbians. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on air, but if we
it's like a damn.
Dykes? Are you saying dykes?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that word doesn't bother me one bit, but it bothers other lesbians. It's just an interesting.
And people that want to hold back water in other ways, and
they can hold back water. They could be a dam. Right. It could be a dike. It could be any of those things. Anyways, let's move on. Yes. I still hate
drive your Chevy to the left or the dike.
And Lindsey's a confirmed bachelor. He could be saying whatever he could be on a fainting couch. A straight guy could be on a fainting couch having a tizzy. You don't have to be gay to do that. So
right. Yeah. That's the other thing. Whenever people are making jokes, and it has to do with, I'm allowed to say the definition, the sodomy, that
oh my God,
you're making an assumption.
I have you so scared on this show.
You do have me so scared. You're making an assumption that only gay people are actually having butt sex, and that's not the truth.
This is true.
Okay, I think you
straight people that love it.
I think you probably couldn't say that last thing, but okay, let's move on. And Speaker Pelosi once again talking about in the
$1.9 trillion,
in the butt, Bob.
Exactly
in the butt, Bob.
Figure of cost of the Republican tax break that they gave to the richest people in America. 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%. So this legislation, which helps meet the needs of the American people, to be considered a tax break bill for the rich, it's pathetic. It's pathetic.
Thank you. And one more.
In the election, the American people cast their ballot for big, bold action and decisive leadership to turn the coronavirus pandemic and economic crisis around. Since then, the need has accelerated drastically. The time for decisive action is now. That is why today we will pass, Mr. Speaker, a budget resolution to pave the way for a landmark coronavirus rescue plan.
So one of the things they're talking about is to limit the cost of stimulus checks would be, making them more targeted, meaning I think Jen Psaki yesterday said the administration is considering lowering the income level of people who receive the check, but not the amount of the check. We're still going with the $1,400 check, which totals $2,000, obviously, on top of the $600 that we already did. But so I don't, Dana, I don't know. I just think they should go big. They should go bold. Like, you can always get that back in taxes next year. Like, I don't know if that's as important. I feel like the need is so pressing, but I get it about not giving it to wealthier households.
Yes, I understand that as well. But there's also like middle class people that they're not going to go out. They're expecting this to boost the economy. This is not necessarily the way to boost the economy. There is this. People should have been getting retroactive $2,000 a month from the beginning of this and been able to been paid to stay home so that we could have eradicated this virus a long time ago. Well, that didn't happen. But to think that like people like necessarily myself or you are going to take that $600 and immediately put it back into the economy isn't going to happen. A lot of people are putting it in their savings account because they are okay. They're not great, but they are okay. But the people that need the money, they have to get this into their hands. The people that cannot stay home because they are frontline workers in a grocery store, and it's overwhelmingly in the Hispanic Black communities that have to continue to go to work, that's where this money should be going.
Yes,
So that
thank
we
you.
can
Right.
actually balance out this playing field so that
Zoom
is an
call.
equitable opportunity for people to stay healthy in the society.
Yeah, they can't Zoom call or work from home or do whatever. You're right.
Exactly.
They have no choice, and clock is ticking on rent and all kinds of things. So this is another. We mentioned this earlier, Dana, but a really good thing. Biden continues to take an axe to Trump's labor policies. Thank God. Speaking of regular workers, removing all 10 of Trump's appointees to the Federal Service Impasses Panel. They're supposed to resolve bargaining disputes between federal agencies and worker unions, but unions said Trump's employees were using the board to essentially rewrite collective bargaining agreement. It was just to hurt workers, right? They said the anti-labor tilt was part of a broader attack on bargaining rights. They said the outgoing panel appointed by the previous administration and stacked with transparently biased union busters was notorious for ignoring the law to gut workplace rights and further an extreme political agenda. And that's when, Dana, all these, issues collide, the way in terms of COVID, the way these meat packing plant employees were treated with
Absolutely.
no regard for worker safety with COVID, with no, right? Just get in there and make our nuggets, and we don't care if you get sick. And, like you say, it's people like that, they're frontline, that are forced to do this to live.
And the other thing is, that he said it yesterday, it came out of Biden's mouth, he's not making new law, he's getting rid of bad policy. And we have to remember that. That's the bottom line. He's not just signing up the papers to make new laws because he wants to willy-nilly, right, with the government. He's getting rid of horrible policy that was hurting this country, that was just making the rich richer, period.
This is totally the everything Donald Trump up.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Just trying to, it's like triage. It's like putting your finger in a dike. Do you know what I'm saying, Dana? It's like, that's how bad the flow of bad stuff from the Trump administration was.
I just love that if you're not watching this on free speech, there's just dead air on the radio when you do that, because we're all staring at each other, rubbing our head, going, "Oh, jeez."
I'm like a comedian going, "Oh, it's like a wax museum. Oh, ooh, tough room."
Yeah.
Okay, Dana, we've been covering these white privilege rioters that are demanding organic food and to be able to take their pre-planned, vacations. Okay, so these people, there has to be consequences here, right? Real consequences, or this is, as Glenn Kirshner said, an ongoing, coup.
Yeah.
The FBI recently raided the homes of two men from Orange County, California, out here, who sponsored a rally near the U.S. Capitol. Jamie's eating mommy's oatmeal. Pardon me. Okay. The day before the deadly attack on the building, this is the first time search warrants have been served involving people who organized and spoke at rallies before the attack. One of them told the crowd to prepare for war tomorrow against vipers in Congress who refused to reverse the results of the election. Taylor told the crowd, "We will not return to our peaceful way of life until this election is made right." And it is interesting how many of them, Dana, echoed this crazy Marjorie Taylor Greene that they've already arrested, right? I mean, this is the real world. Many of them talked about assassinating Nancy Pelosi, right?
Oh, you can't hear?
No, I couldn't hear. That's why I hadn't come back on with you guys.
Oh, was
Okay.
that our was that our issue or?
No, I'm so sorry. I just had a moment.
Oh,
Okay. We're talking about just that there has to be real consequences for these rioters, right? I mean,
There has to be.
Yeah, echoed the exact kind of rhetoric that Marjorie Taylor Greene has echoed, and that's why they're complicit. I mean, I'm going back through. I mean, there's a million of these. Weeks before the murderous mob of insurrectionists, one of the leaders of the so-called Stop the Steal movement stood before a crowd of angry Trump loyalists in California and called for the execution of those who had supposedly plotted against Trump. One of them was a police chief turned yoga instructor. Tell me how that works. He's a yoga instructor all about peace and okay. He last year became a prominent opponent of COVID shutdowns out here. I mean, it is amazing, right? We're supposed to be a blue state, Dana. How we have all these crazies out here too, and they all intersect. COVID deniers and Trump loyalists, and they arrested 3 rioters from Beverly Hills. One of them was a doctor.
We have to remember that just because we're a blue state doesn't mean that they're not all weaved in with us. I mean, when you've got protesters shutting down Dodger Stadium because they don't want the vaccine, but they don't care if anyone else gets it, it is insanity, and it should be illegal. If you're going to block traffic while people are trying to get vaccinated, if you don't want to get the vaccine, fine. I can't
Thank
make
you.
you get it, but don't stand in the way of someone else who needs it.
Yeah.
And then the guy that's talking about the yoga sheriff down in Orange County, he's the same one that Mother Jones did that big story on last week, where he was giving a speech where he was talking about executing and punishing people in D.C. while Dana Rohrabacher was standing right there next to him
Thank
and
you.
speaking at the same event.
Yeah. Right before he goes to teach yoga, and tells people to. What's his yoga teach? I don't know.
Downward dog, because they're all getting from behind.
Yep.
Right.
Ah.
Dawn Bancroft, one of the rioters, said we were looking for Nancy to shoot her in the friggin' brain, but we didn't find her. Okay. The video was a selfie which depicted her saying, "We broke into the Capitol, we got inside, we did our part. We were looking for Nancy to shoot her in the friggin' brain, but we didn't find her." Is that the one that wanted the vacation?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me say 2 words. Yeah. No. You stay in jail and pay the consequences.
Is that the one eating mac and cheese on her video, just talking about if these
Yes.
were not white people, they would not
I have some
be.
thoughts
They
on
were
mac and
released.
cheese when we
Oh,
return. I don't have children. Here's the only thing I've learned about children from watching as much cable news as I do is you cannot get them to eat broccoli without some sort of disgusting processed yellow cheese.
Right, cheese sauce.
Or you have to bribe them with French fries. That's all I've learned from television.
That's it. That's all you need to
Yeah.
know. You should
So-
probably adopt children tomorrow.
You could be a parent.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
kids whine a lot, and then apparently you can fix everything with mac and cheese, with disgusting processed yellow cheese, or French fries.
They also constantly ask,
Apparently,
"Are we there
some
yet?"
adults and capital insurrectionists whine a lot, and apparently you can also placate them with mac and cheese.
Oh my God, we ran through the whole QAnon shamans' demand for organic food. Then they've been calling us liberal snowflakes, liberal elitists for years. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. It needs to be wild-caught tuna, just in case you're wondering.
I mean, it's infuriating. These two systems of justice that we have for people of color and white people, it is infuriating watching it.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you're
Much less
reviewing,
living
it's okay
it, I'm
to,
sure.
handcuff and pepper spray a 9-year-old black girl, but a white shaman gets to have organic food, and then the other lady, they put a brain in Nancy Pelosi's head, lady gets to go on a prepaid vacation, perhaps. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
The judge
It's a
is
work
thinking about
retreat,
that.
Steffi.
Yeah.
It is a work retreat.
It's a work bonding.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she could do a ropes
Yeah.
course.
How would that go if I suggested a work bonding vacation together? How would that go?
Have fun.
Wow. I think we just ignore that.
We'd also
Like,
end up at Palm Springs in a gay bar. So
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, speaking of which, Chris, could you take your organ out for me? Thanks so
Oh.
much, Dana. Sometimes it's beautiful in this crazy mixed-up world when the right people find each other, isn't it? Anti-LGBTQ activist Scott Lively blames Ivanka Trump for her father's tolerance of homosexual perversion, which caused God to remove Trump from office.
yes.
That's-
Well, you know what? If it had been Tiffany, because apparently Tiffany's big friend of the gays now. I don't know if you know that. Like, she speaks at gay pride things in Florida. Yeah, the log cabin Republicans love her. They should have leaned on Tiffany because no one else is.
It's hard to pick a winner in that whole sentence that I just read, isn't
Oh
it?
my goodness.
It's hard.
Wow.
So he got a
Sometimes
little
I feel
twisted
like
with
it's Mad
pretzel.
Libs. I feel like it's just political Mad Libs. Like, you just picked a noun, you picked an adjective, and you picked a verb, and they don't make any sense, but apparently it's a headline.
There
Yeah,
you go.
but it's funny.
There you go. I feel like QAnon Veronica is getting very jealous of QAnon Betty getting
Yes.
all the attention. So Lauren Boebert, who is QAnon Veronica, if you're paying attention, we do think Matt Gaetz is Reggie. Have we decided? We're not sure. I think Jim Jordan is Jughead. I can't.
That works.
Betty already has a jingle.
Oh, that's true. Yes, please. QAnon.
Green, green, it's Marjorie Green. She is the mayor of Crazyville.
Okay. Now, see, Marky Mountain Mike. Now QAnon Veronica is going to need a jingle. She's
Getting jealous.
jealous. Wait, who's Archie? I'm confused. I'm getting myself confused.
Trump, because he has red
Trump.
hair.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Does he, though?
You-
I mean,
Does he though? Is it
It's
yellow?
either him or Jim Imhoff.
Yeah, but is that how pathetic is that? That this is what he does now. He apparently, since he's kicked off Twitter, he is literally writing mean tweets and trying to give them to other people about Liz Cheney or whatever. That's
It's
what he's doing.
pathetic.
Right?
It was
Jimmy
a
Carter's been
big
building
deal.
houses for the homeless for years. Donald Trump's like, I hate Liz Cheney. Say this, but here's a good slam.
I know it was a secret vote, but Trump was calling a lot of those congressmen and women to try and get her out of her position, and they said no. That was a nice debunking of him. He still thinks he has power, and he's pulling the strings. And he is with some people. You got McCarthy going to visit him, but everyone else is like, look, back up.
Right. No, you're right. It is show how cowardly they are. It has to be a secret vote, Dana, and most of them voted against him and for Liz Cheney. But it's just he's the one fracturing the party, to which I say good.
Yeah.
You know, good. Try to stick with crazy QAnon Betty and Liz Cheney, and you just look like a bunch of spineless cowards.
When you've got Meghan McCain tweeting out that if she wasn't breastfeeding, she'd be drinking a lot of bourbon because of the path the GOP is taking, you know something has gone terribly wrong in the GOP.
I need a lot of bourbon to watch Meghan McCain, so it's all fair. I don't even drink anymore. Okay, Dana. So yes, Lauren Boebert, QAnon.
Veronica.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The ethics experts are asking questions about the more than $22,000 in mileage reimbursement she paid herself from her campaign last year. She would have had to have driven 38,712 miles while campaigning, despite having no publicly advertised campaign events in March, April, or July, and only one in May.
Mama, it takes a lot of gas to get back and forth from Crazy Town. A lot of gas. And it's what, $4 a gallon right now?
Is it? I don't know how long it takes to get to Crazy Town. I live there.
You don't
It's
ever
your basement. It's your basement.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, thank you guys on our group text chain. People were talking about various people they've worked with before, including the My Pillow guy and Glenn Beck,
Mm-hmm.
and how crazy they were. And so I think, just by accident, Dana, I got the respect I'm entitled to. I think that's the best I can hope for now. Is I'm less crazy than the My Pillow guy or Glenn Beck.
You got to have a bar. You got to have a bar.
Right?
I was Glenn Beck adjacent at one point in my career.
I know, right?
Yeah.
He had a nice phone manner. Do we still have our get off my phone symphony? Yeah. He's like, doctors have a nice bedside manner. He had a nice phone manner to the callers, if you recall. Does he still have a show, Travis?
I don't know if he does, to tell you the truth. I can Google that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sure someone's probably already tweeted back at us. We should probably just look at Twitter.
He's probably streaming on YouTube or something somewhere.
Okay. David Hogg, I just love him.
Yes.
He's got to run for something. He is fantastic, the Parkland survivor and activist. He taunted the My Pillow guy on Twitter, revealing his plans to create a competing pillow company built on progressive values. So Mike Lindell, is that his name? He can't see it because he's kicked off Twitter. But he will likely catch wind of it because Hogg has been tweeting about it for nearly 20 hours. And he said, we plan to do this while creating solid American union jobs so you can sleep at night. He's serious. He's gotten angel investors and stuff. He's going to make a progressive pillow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the Glenn Beck get off my phone.
Oh, thank you very much, Chris.
And he does still have a radio show.
Oh, wow. Good for him.
Deeply crazy Glenn Beck.
I'm asking you a logical question. and
I'm giving you a logical answer.
You don't have logic.
Highly illogical. You're right.
Where's your logic? What would you do? I'm asking you, what would you do to change this healthcare system for the better?
Get off my phone! Get off my phone, you little pinhead! I don't care. You people don't care. I'm gonna lose my mind today.
You better pick your head up and put it back on your shoulders because it's rolling all over the ground right now.
Oh, God.
I'll show you how it's done. Ginger in Phoenix. Hi, welcome, Ginger. You make phone. Hello.
Good morning, Steph. I think I'm still the official CRA officer of the Stephanie Miller Show. But I just wanted to kind of...
And CRA stands for?
Community Reinvestment Act. Making sure that banks prevent redlining and,
fantastic.
and take care of... Yeah.
Okay.
So you guys were talking about the stimulus check, and we had a meeting with some of our LA nonprofits last week.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying that they're inadvertently benefiting the bank because if your account is overdrawn and that's automatically deposited into your account,
Mm-hmm.
then
It goes
the
towards.
bank gets paid,
Yeah.
and you get nothing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yes, I was
so-
on the Yukon Cornelius small business plan last time. I got nothing.
Yeah, so a lot lot of the individuals.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A lot of the individuals that need the money are not getting it because, you know, they're trying to pay rent and everything else, and the money goes into their account and the bank gets their money, and there's nothing left for the person to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And the other thing that they're doing is instead of doing direct deposit into some people's accounts, they're like, if you haven't gotten your check, look in the mail for a debit card. Well, what does that make you do? It makes you leave the house unless you somehow have a computer. Not everyone has a computer to go get groceries. It makes you leave the house to have to do that stuff. And that is, it's sort of ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm not going anywhere. I doubled and tripled down on my. All right. Would you mind if I practice my Glenn Beck on you before you go?
Oh, she
already hung up?
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't even have time to say, get on my phone!
No. Sorry.
It works.
Oh, hey, speaking of bankers, wow, Trump's longtime banker at Deutsche Bank was pushed out of her job in December following an internal investigation that concluded she did business with a client without properly disclosing it. So Trump's dirty banking deals, the dirty banker, as it turns out, is dirty, which is shocking. She was engaged in undisclosed activities related to a real estate investment, buying a property from a client-managed entity. Would you like to know who that is? Jared's Burgell something associates that he has a small ownership stake in. She did a deal. At the time of the apartment purchase, Trump and Kushner had already borrowed $200 million from her division at Deutsche Bank, and they would soon come back looking for hundreds of millions of dollars more. Dana, I can't even begin to imagine everything that is going to come out and we're going to find out about Donald Trump eventually.
And it's going to be more. And I said this before, criminals are going to continue to commit crimes. So the thing is what they've done, because this moron wanted to be the most powerful man in the world. He ran for president, stole the election. Now he's in the limelight. Before he was getting away with a lot of stuff. He's still going to commit crimes, and the entire justice system is watching him now. And I'm not talking about federal. I'm talking about state. I'm talking about Florida. Like all of these people now, he cannot do anything without someone being up in his business. He created this for himself, and you know he's going to commit another crime, and he's going to go down for it.
And Dana, you mentioned this earlier, we alluded to it, but it's why they're desperate to stop Merrick Garland as long as they can. And I'm sure the timing is before Trump's impeachment, because the more rocks they start overturning, the more they're going to find. I mean, look at all of this already. Ted Cruz and Steve Mnuchin probed by a special inspector for pandemic recovery. Speaking of the recovery, how much money did Steve Mnuchin funnel to, right? All of his buddies and other rich people that we already know about, right?
Right.
Kushner and you name it, all these rich Trump buddies that got, okay, so there's that. And they're also talking about Ted Cruz funneling, making it easier to get oil and gas companies to get, you know what I mean? It's just all of the corruption that just went on is going to come. How about what's his name? The Cooch. How about that one?
Ken Cuccinelli?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
A Trump Homeland Security official is the target of a whistleblower complaint accusing him of sabotaging Biden's immigration policies by agreeing to hand policy controls to pro-Trump union representing ICE. The complaint accuses Ken Cuccinelli of gross mismanagement, gross waste of government funds, and abuse of authority over labor agreements he signed with the immigration agents union the day before Biden's inauguration, essentially seeking to tie Biden's hands. Then his lawyer for the whistleblower said the abuse of authority is shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one thing after another. I'm sure is going to come out that is, and I say that we can walk and chew gum. We are already moving
Absolutely
full speed ahead on COVID relief and everything else we need to do. But there has got to be accountability, or this is just going to happen over and over again.
100%. There has to be consequences. The Justice Department needs to do their job on this. There's going to be so many upset constituents, upset voters if things do not happen, if there's not consequences. That's going to have a bigger effect on our party than probably a lot of the damage that was done in the last 4 years, because we're just going to feel like disenchanted with the entire system. Something's got to be done.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there, the GameStop stuff that you were so brilliant about last week talking about that, but there are these right-wing crazies. They're trying to use that to recruit more people and go, it's all the Jews. See, the system's rigged by the Jews. You know what I mean? It's just, that's the problem, is they're playing on people's grievances and feeling like some systems certainly are rigged, like Wall Street.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Well, John
Ossoff, their horrible anti-Semitic side.
I'm not going to lie. When John Ossoff got his cabinet, his committee
Yes.
appointment places, and he was in banking. I did giggle a little bit. I mean, some things we are just very, very good at, so I did giggle a little bit.
Put something in her tip jar. Say,
Thank you to those that did this morning. It's still a process, so I appreciate each and every week. Some of you have been like clockwork, and I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
people quote Dana from the show, and then I later on Twitter I'll be like, that was
Yeah.
that was. Sometimes it takes a while.
Your appendix line from last week really resonated with people. The stock market's like an appendix.
Every once in a while, I get one right. It's 8:00 in the morning. Usually, what comes out of my mouth is very convoluted.
You said it doesn't really do anything until it goes bad, and then it kills us.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
doesn't affect most of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's one thing I know is that Larry Kudlow continues to be drunk and also not appear to know anything about the economy. Are we done hearing from Trump people? He said, suggested Americans do not need COVID relief payments because they will use them to buy stocks. Speaking of
What?
game stocks, he went on to claim the U.S. is not facing an economic crisis. We are still in a V-shaped recovery. The economy is very strong, and I read about this economic crisis. I don't believe it. Because apparently we all own stock in valuable minerals from Greenwald and other things like that. He worried that stimulus checks will be used to buy penny stocks. Are you kidding me? This is why they made such a wreck of the economy, Dana. They don't understand anything about people can't pay their rent. They're lining up in food on lines to get food. They're not going to buy penny stocks.
Well, what happened with the GameStop thing is that people did take their stimulus checks and buy GameStop stocks with it. So that is what happened in that case.
Right.
But that's not everybody. That's only a tiny portion of people.
That's what I'm saying. But to use that to say we're not in an economic
Right.
crisis and people don't need COVID relief.
Right.
Have you ever in your lifetime, Dana, seen Americans lined up for food?
Their lines are horrifying. They're miles long. People sitting in their cars just because they need to get fed. There's a lot of things wrong in this country, and that is one of them. There should be no one in this country. We're the richest country in the world. That there is food insecure in every state. This shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. So you were saying this Republican Party is, I don't know what to say, but dozens of Republicans in George Bush's administration just left the party. You heard that, right? Dismayed by a failure of many elected Republicans to disown Trump after his false claims of election fraud, the deadly rioting. These officials, they served in the highest echelons of the Bush administration, said they hoped a Trump defeat would lead party leaders to move on from the former president and denounce his baseless claims. But with most Republican lawmakers sticking to Trump, these officials say they no longer recognize the party they served. The Republican Party, as I knew it, no longer exists, said one of them. I call it the cult of Trump. And I keep saying, Dana, I guess we should be happy because it's horrible for them politically. Trump has dropped 20 points in a month among Republicans who don't want to see him run again. You're like, good, cling to this orange, whatever, floater. Whatever. Orange floater. And they don't know when they ain't corn and they can't let go of it. Here's the good news. Federal judges are retiring now that Biden will pick their replacements. And we have to the courts. We have so much to and the courts, we start with them. So there is one of them, but 90 minutes after Biden took office, she her resignation. Federal judges with lifetime appointments said the day that Trump left. 8 judges already announced their plans. Their retirements keep coming. We just have so much to undo, Dana, both on COVID. We're going to talk to Lori Garrett about that tomorrow. Just all of the things we have to reverse. But, oh, my God.
There's a lot to fix. It's happening. Yeah. I know that we're running out of time shortly, but I also know I'm coming from a place of privilege when I talk about this. I feel like Biden's done a really good job in his first 2-3 weeks that he's been in there. But I would really love to know. This is Black History Month. I would love to know from people of color how they feel the president has done in the first 3 weeks to see if they're as happy, because I come from a place of privilege.